This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
Welcome to the program. I'm Roby Brock. We appreciate you joining us. It was politics at its ugliest at the state capitol this week. There's no way to sugarcoat it. The debate over hate crimes brought out the worst in your state legislators. On Monday, senators heard Senate Bill 622, a class protection bill deemed as an alternative to an originally filed hate crimes bill, Senate Bill 3. The debate in Senate Judiciary was pretty tame compared to the rest of the week as Senator Jimmy Hickey, the leader of the state Senate, outlined the bill, which critics highlighted its shortcomings. A day later, Senate Bill 3, the first hate crimes bill filed this session, was given a hearing. The committee conversation in Senate Judiciary devolved into name-calling, accusations of grandstanding, and a rare motion of do not pass by Senator Trent Garner. It's a little used procedural move meant to kill the bill on the spot. The bill's lead sponsor, Senator Jim Hendren, called the move petty, while Senator Bob Ballinger countered that the whole process has been petty, and he accused Hendren of simply playing to the media and operating in bad faith. On Thursday, House Speaker Matthew Shepard presented Senate Bill 622 in the House Judiciary Committee, made up of 11 Republicans and 9 Democrats. After another tense hearing, Chairwoman Carol Dalby ruled the aye votes prevailed, and she immediately adjourned the committee meeting despite bipartisan pleas for a roll call. It was dubious if there were 11 affirmative votes for the bill, but it now heads to the full House for consideration. Bruised feelings, an atmosphere of distrust, and a lack of consensus over a topic that ought to have a lot of consensus was what brought us to the end of about day 90 of the Arkansas General Assembly. I caught up with Tippi McCullough. She is the House Minority Leader, Democrat of Little Rock, who sits on the House Judiciary Committee. She was there for what went down on Thursday. We had a conversation about what happened and what comes next. First of all, thank you so much for joining us. I know it's been an exhausting session. It's certainly been an exhausting week this last week. I want to hear from you. How does this session compare to other sessions that you've either served in or that you've been around in terms of just some of the social and cultural divisiveness we're seeing?
Yeah, it's a good question, Roby. I know in 2015 during that session, I wasn't elected yet, but I was advocating for some issues. And we had a run of, I know, a lot of anti-LGBTQ issues, such as the bathroom bills and a lot of things like that. We've had the Interstate Commerce Act. We fought to be in the Civil Rights Act, to be included in that with sexual orientation, gender identity. But my first session in 2018 was not, 2019, after I was elected in 2018, did not feel like this session. There's a definite different atmosphere in this session. And I think I know a lot of things sometimes are nationally driven, but my hope was that for Arkansas that we could, really talk about the things that are best for Arkansas and not get caught up in a lot of stuff like that.
Is that where you think a lot of this, particularly some of this transgender legislation, some of these things, you think it's coming from national elements that are just trying to put their, I guess, for lack of a better word, their fingerprints, their footprints on Arkansas law?
Yes, I do. I think that's a big part of it, but now you have to find a local person to do that bidding. So we can't completely blame it on national movements or anything, but many of the folks that have been running these anti-trans, anti-LGBTQ, and a lot of the medical issue bills and things like that, the name bill, all of these things, they proudly state the national groups that, have supported them in doing this. So I don't think it's any secret.
Let's go to the class protection bill, Senate Bill 622, which worked its way down to the House Judiciary Committee this week. It's being touted as an alternative to the hate crimes legislation, Senate Bill 3, that is out there that has some more specific language in it for folks from your perspective, Democrats that are supportive of something stronger. It does have, though, penalties, enhancements for up to 80% for time served on some of these violent crimes, if they can be tied to some of these classes. I get that it doesn't do all that you want it to do in a hate crimes bill, but it does move the ball down the field some. Why not take some incremental advancement on this issue and build for the future?
Well, I think that's up to the body, to the committee and to the body. I think I've spoken pretty clearly about my issues with it. We had a good hate crimes bill, I think one that checked the box appropriately. And in a lot of my committee remarks yesterday, I spoke about the reasons, that I don't like this particular bill. And I talked about the respect I have for the folks that they're trying to run this bill and to try to do something. But once again, I'll say it again, if you're not a minority, I think it might be hard or difficult to understand what this particular bill looks like and feels like. It feels like just an attempt to check a box and not really a true attempt to make sure that we realize these vulnerable groups that are targeted. And it's not even the hate crimes that you have to say hate crimes to me. It's just there are certain groups that historically have been targeted. And that's who we should be protecting with this. And I think this particular bill just opens it up to everything. I think it's very vague. I think it'll be hard for prosecutors to even use. And then also, a lot's been talked about the prospect of it maybe not being constitutional.
Yeah, I thought just former Supreme Court Justice Annabelle Ember-Tuck made some pretty strong commentary on that point, having sat in a seat at the Supreme Court and having made some of these decisions before about whether something was constitutional or not. That was pretty strong. It's in the story on our website for those who want to read it. You serve on the House Judiciary panel. That's where things ended on Thursday on this Senate Bill 622. Chairwoman Carol Dalby declared that the ayes had the votes and quickly adjourned the committee right there. Do you think there were 11 votes on that 20-member panel for Senate Bill 622?
I think it was hard to tell. I've listened to it. I was there in person listening to it, and then I've listened to it on video too. And so I do think it's a little bit hard to tell. And I will say, with the plexiglass in there and with some having masks on and people being turned different ways, from my seat, even when I listen to it, I can hear certain voices, but I can't hear others. Not because maybe they're not speaking. It's just the way the sound is in there. So I'm not sure. I feel like it was close. I feel like it was close, and hands went up for the roll call, and she gavelled out, and that was the end of the meeting. So that's about as far as I've gotten with that.
So we often refer to those types of quick gavels dismissing a committee like that as a drive-by adjournment, is what we have called them in years gone by. They're very uncommon. You don't see it happen that often. So have you spoken to Representative Dalby, the chairwoman of that committee, about, was that pre-planned? Did she have this in mind beforehand?
I have not spoken to her since the meeting. I'm sure there were all kinds of, I think before any meeting, people count votes, people talk about strategy, people talk about, as we heard yesterday over and over, tools in the toolbox and stuff. So I believe that lots of things could have been thought about, and whether things were planned or whether, it's what happened in the moment. I just can't speak to that. I mean, I think the best person to go to is Chair Dalby for that, because I haven't spoken to her about what her intentions were or anything after the meeting. So that I just don't know.
How do y'all go back into House Judiciary next week and not have this curtain of angst and what happened this week hanging over you? Do you just walk back in and it's back to business as usual?
Well, quite honestly, I've had a curtain of angst hanging over me, I feel like, for more than just that one committee meeting, and in many ways, because of how strongly I feel about a lot of the cruel bills that have been pushed through this time. And I'll say that, of course, obviously, I voted on a lot of bills with the other side and everything too, and some good things. But I've kind of felt that curtain of angst. That's a phrase I may have to use again. Thank you for that. But so I don't know that I go in and feel a lot differently than I have many other times. It's not a good feeling. It's not enjoyable. It's not, it doesn't make you feel good about what we're up there to do. It doesn't, it makes you worry, even more about what can happen, whether it's in a committee meeting or on the House floor or anything else. But as far as from myself, and I believe my caucus, we'll just continue to show up, and we'll do what we can to do what we think's right.
Well, let's talk about procedurally what could be the next moves now that this bill 622 has advanced out of House Judiciary. It will be on the House floor presumably Monday when you come back. Will the Democrats, you as minority leader, will you lead some sort of effort to procedurally make some sort of change based on the rules of the House? I hear that there is some GOP discontent too, a riff in the House GOP caucus. There could be some activity on that front. What can you tell us will be procedurally may happen on Monday?
I've heard the same thing, that there are some in the Republican caucus that are looking at some procedural things to do that. And once again, I think it's good to speak to them about that and their motives and everything. I can just say that I'm still thinking about what happened and looking at things, looking at rules and all of that. And I'm not leading a charge by any means. The Democrat caucus is not leading a charge. But once again, as we always do, we never dictate how anybody votes. We all talk and we decide to do, after we talk and all of our voices are heard, we decide to go back in there and everybody votes their conscience and votes what's best for their constituency. And I assume that that's what we'll do on Monday, just the same.
Would it be your preference that this bill be re-referred back to the House Judiciary Committee and a roll call vote be taken?
I don't know that my preference matters a lot. And that's another thing with 22 of us, we can't dictate a lot. And as a matter of fact, maybe it's better to get out of the way and let others dictate and see what happens. But, would I like for there to have been a roll call? Sure, because that's what the people that I'm hearing from want. They want things to be transparent and they want to know what happened. And, there's also when a bill is voted down in a committee, there's other procedural things you can do. Anything from extraction to getting it re-referred to, there's still procedural things either way you go. So something could have happened no matter what. I just know the people that I'm hearing from would like to have known what the vote was for sure.
It's been a rough week. It's been a rough session, as you have alluded to. Let's try to end this conversation on a positive note. Shine the light on me on one thing that you're particularly proud of having that either you or the caucus or the legislature as a whole has done this session.
Anytime that we can, I know there's been some talk and some work with, raising teacher salaries. Of course, that's good things for us. I think every member of our caucus has stepped up in tough circumstances. And I think they've tried to work across the aisle and to get really good bills passed, whether it's, domestic violence or whether I know Representative Hodges was on the bill for the duty to intervene training that was on the House floor yesterday. I hate to start calling people out because I think so many people are doing such good work. And, I think the time for that is when we get to the end of the session. We'll gather everything up and we'll talk about the things we've done and the things that we've tried to do. And there's always a flip side of that. Let's look at the things that we've also stood up and fought against. So sometimes that's, just about as important as the good things that happen. But I can promise you I'm proud of this caucus. I'm proud of the work that's been done. And I think when the session's over, we'll make that clear.